Imagine you are an astronaut floating in deep space, looking back at Earth. You don't see a planet made of dirt and rock. You see a glowing, breathtaking blue sphere. Why? Because nearly three-fourths of our entire planet is completely covered in water. That is why we call it the blue planet. In fact, the Indian Navy has a powerful motto, Sam no Varuna, which means be auspicious to us, O Varuna, calling upon the ancient deity of the oceans. They know that the sea is literally the lifeblood of our world. But here is a crazy fact about our planet. The land and water are not shared equally. If you look at the northern hemisphere, it is packed with land. This is where you find the massive continent of Asia, the biggest piece of land on Earth. But if you flip the globe and look at the southern hemisphere, it is almost entirely water. Speaking of land, how many continents are there? You probably learned in school that there are seven. But depending on who you ask, some scientists will say six, or five, or even four. For example, Europe and Asia are actually just one giant connected piece of rock that geologists call Eurasia. Did you know the five rings of the Olympic logo actually stand for the five major inhabited continents coming together? And what about pieces of land surrounded entirely by water? We call them islands. The biggest one on Earth is Greenland. But India alone has over 1,300 islands, including the Andaman and Nicobar and Lakshadweep. India even went all the way down to the freezing, isolated continent of Antarctica in 1983 to set up a scientific base called Dakshin Gangotri. They even built a post office in the ice. Now let's talk about the water. On a map, we give the oceans five different names: the massive Pacific, the Atlantic, our very own Indian Ocean, the freezing Southern Ocean, and the tiny Arctic. But here is the big secret: there are no walls in the sea. It is actually just one giant, continuous, interconnected body of salt water flowing freely around the entire globe. But why is it so salty? Because for millions of years, rain and rivers have been washing minerals and salts off the land and dumping them straight into the sea. All the fresh water we actually need to drink, from lakes, rivers, and groundwater, makes up only a tiny, tiny fraction of the world's total water. This massive body of salt water completely controls our lives. When ocean water evaporates, it creates the giant cloud systems that bring India our vital monsoon rains. Without the Indian Ocean, our farms would dry up and die. But the ocean is also terrifying. It breeds brutal tropical cyclones and, worst of all, tsunamis. In December 2004, a massive underwater earthquake near Indonesia triggered a tsunami so powerful it rushed across the Indian Ocean and devastated coastlines, including parts of Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Over 200,000 people lost their lives. That tragedy is exactly why today India has a National Disaster Management Authority and heavy early warning systems to detect these invisible monsters in the water before they strike. Finally, we have to respect the ocean because it literally keeps us breathing. Everyone tells you that trees give us oxygen. But did you know that tiny marine plants in the ocean, called phytoplankton, produce a massive proportion of all the oxygen in the world? The oceans are the true lungs of our planet. But right now, we are choking those lungs. We are dumping millions of tons of plastic waste, spilling oil, and overfishing our waters. Every year on June 8th, we celebrate World Oceans Day to remind ourselves of a very simple truth. We don't just live on the land, we survive because of the sea. If we don't protect our oceans, the blue planet won't stay blue for long.